Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon and good evening to all of you. This is your host Vaibhav for today's session of correlation and regression. We will be considering the price development so far in the major forex currencies to look for the opportunities which we can exploit in a profitable manner, and along with that we will also be considering the developments in the equity segment, particularly for the US equity futures, to see if there are emerging patterns and also the formation where we can figure out the relative strength and the weakness of the trend to see if we can go for any trades as the US session is going to get underway. So let us now head to the JForex 4, the newly released trading platform from the Dukascopy Bank SA. This is the Euro USD chart with the candle break defined at the hourly time frame. And as I had talked about the possibility of Euro USD continuing to consolidate with the upward bias in yesterday's session, that seems to be holding well in today's session also. We haven't really seen the Euro USD go anywhere, but it has continued to consolidate with the buy on dip strategy giving us a good enough profit. The same thing holds true in today's session also. Here also the bias remains on the buy side, the bullish side, and in course of time we can expect the Euro USD to rise towards 1.08, but when that is going to happen, that is of course anybody's guess, because we can't really time the market in a precise manner. But as the formation stands, and as long as the immediate swing low is not broken with the range remaining intact, we can continue to be hopeful for the move on the higher side. Now, if we look at the Euro USD today's price moves, these are happening in a very narrow range. If you look at the high and the low, the range is just little over 30 pips, and that is quite low if we look at the historical price range for last couple of days or even over the last couple of weeks. The Euro USD has been a lot more volatile, but as it is, we have to try to play with what we have got, and if we have to keep looking for the opportunities for buy on dips, then we also have to get our relative strength and weakness assessment right, the correlational analysis right. So as to be sure that the Euro USD is the best choice to apply this buy on dip strategy against the dollar, or if we feel that the better opportunities are emerging elsewhere, we will also have to take that into consideration and go for those trades. Okay, so if we look at the immediate swing high and swing low formation, the swing low came in early at 11 GMT. After that, this 4-hourly high was formed at 1340 GMT, and then again dipped towards this low, but this time around it held above the prior low, and then it resumed on the higher side. So if we have to compare the Euro USD price formation with say that of AUD, we will have to consider the timeline of the swing high and swing low formation. For AUD, the swing high, 4-hourly high, had come in quite early at 7:50 GMT. After that, it went on to make this fresh swing low, and again this new swing low with lower low was made just over an hour back. So in today's session also, AUD is on the weaker side compared to the euro. If we look at the resemblance of today's developments to that of yesterday's development, there is not much of a difference actually. The price range is fairly similar, and also if we consider the relative strength and the weakness, it is albeit similar with euro having the upper hand in today's session also. The bias is of the consolidation with the undertone being bullish. So in most of these major currencies trading against the dollar, we have to adopt buy on dip strategy with euro being the strongest of the pack. Of course, to draw that conclusion of euro being the best, we will have to look at the price developments of other major currencies. But as things stand, and so far what we have seen in the market, The euro indeed looks like the best bet, but let's take a look on the other currencies also. The GBP is also consolidating, but with the undertone being slightly bearish in intraday trade. Here, if we look at the GBP chart, it has declined below this prior swing low formed at 10th of January, and that puts it in the opposite camp actually. If we have to go for the buy on dip strategy against the dollar, if we expect the dollar to remain on the weaker side, then GBP is not really the currency you would like to wait on. Rather, the euro is there. But in the scenario where we get further confirmation in place, not straight away, but maybe later on, we can indeed consider the GBP USD, but for trading in the opposite side, not for a long trade, but for a sell trade. If we consider the AUD is having a much better momentum on the bullish side, but GBP is lagging and also making this fresh swing low. But on these levels, we can't really go short nor we can go long. So it is better to avoid it for the time being and focus our attention where we have probability as well as the formation looking a lot more reliable. Now let's consider the NZD. NZD is following the similar price trajectory as of GBP. So here the NZD is also not a buy trade. If we look at the price formation and its range, it is trading closer to the day's range, day's low, that puts it out of contention for shorting it, and also as it is not relatively strong enough, it puts it out of contention for the sell trade as well. So we will have to bear that in mind and put it just slightly ahead of the GBP in terms of the relative strength, but it is of course not going to be a choice for the buy trade where we have Euro USD in a much better momentum wise phase. Now we will have to invert the scales and look at the currency crosses where USD is the first currency. So if we have to gauge the strength and the weakness of these currencies like CAD, CHF, and JPY against the dollar, we will have to see if the particular instrument is on the rise or on the decline. For USD CAD, the day has been similar to what is happening in other currencies with this consolidation phase holding well. And now it seems to be again going into a phase where the momentum is starting to look more bullish for the CAD. And if we look at the formation of the swing highs and swing low, it is looking somewhat similar to the Euro USD, but before we can say it is even stronger than the Euro, I think the timeline of the swing high and swing low formation will have to be considered. And for Euro, the prior swing low had come in at 11:50, 11:05 GMT, but for CAD, the swing low had come in pretty recently, so it is apparently on the weaker footing compared to the euro while trading against the dollar. So in this case, in case of USD CAD, the momentum is starting to look bullish with the possibility of CAD strengthening further, but it is not apparently strong enough to put it ahead of the euro. So we still have the euro as the leader of the pack with all the other major currencies following its lead. Now let's consider the case of CHF. CHF is apparently on the weaker footing, and looking at its chart, it seems like the weakest currency trading against the dollar in today's session, as it has risen quite sharply from the levels of 0.923 to now almost closer to 0.93. So it seems that we have found a currency in which we can go with the strength of the dollar and not against the dollar. So in that scenario, we have the CHF as the best placed currency at the moment. But here also we will have to keep the trading range in mind, and given the prior sharp moves, even in this scenario, it is not really advisable to go for the long trade at the current levels. And as I said, this is also not the currency to go in favor of a appreciation against the dollar. So it is better avoided, and we can have further confirmation in place, and after that, if it consolidates, we can indeed go for a trade in which we can expect the dollar to strengthen. In that scenario, this is going to be a best bet. Now looking at the price formation of USD JPY. For the USD JPY, also the momentum is looking to turn bullish in intraday environment, with JPY apparently on the weaker footing, but it is not as weak as CHF as we just saw in case of CHF. The momentum is quite more bearish, with it declining substantially, more than half a percentage point in last couple of hours. USD JPY, more or less it is holding closer to this prior swing high. It is not really rising too much, but it is not also going into a decline. So we have to put it in the camp of currencies like GBP and NZD, which are showing the momentum slightly bearish, which are not strongly bullish against the dollar. But we have found two currencies where we have strong momentum and decisive trend. As also the Euro USD is the currency to go long against the dollar, and CHF is the currency to go in favor of the dollar and expect it to weaken further while trading against the dollar. So we have this clarity in place with looking at the relative strength and the weaknesses of all the major currencies trading against the dollar. Now let's turn our gaze to the equity segment. As the North American session is going to get underway, we have this formation of the equity indices with bias being bullish. In yesterday's session, I had talked about the possibility of equity indices climbing further, and it has apparently gone well as per our assessment. Now that equity indices have reached the levels closer to the immediate swing high, we will have to adopt a cautious stance in today's trading scenario. So here, if we look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average chart, the momentum is of bullish undertone with this formation of higher highs and higher lows. So we will have to keep our trades on the side of the momentum and keep looking for the buy on dips opportunities. But whether the Dow is the best instrument to go for, or if we have better opportunities emerging in other equity indices, for that confirmation, we need to look at the timeline of this swing high and swing low formation. For the S&P 500, the low had come in at 9:10 GMT. After that, it went on to make this swing high at 11:05 GMT, and it is almost similar to the price trajectory of Dow Jones Industrial Average. So in today's session, there is not much of a difference between the price trajectory of these two major US equity indices. Let's consider the case of Nasdaq. Nasdaq is also following a similar trajectory here. So we will have to expand our horizon and look at the developments on the larger time frame of hourly candle grid. And on the hourly time frame, here also the Nasdaq is approaching the immediate swing high, and same is going to be the case for the S&P 500. So looking at these levels, I think we will have to go for a cautious approach in today's session, as there is not much of a clarity for further move on the higher side, and also the momentum being slightly bullish at the moment. It is not really advisable to go for the trade. Maybe it will be better to sit on the sidelines, watch how things unfold at the start of the North American trading session, and given the tilt after the start of the North American trading session, we can make our mind. But the range is not much on the higher side, as we have this bias being high in this, and as a result of that we will have to adopt the cautious stance here. Let's consider European equity indices, if we have better momentum or not. Yes, for the DX, the break is there above the prior swing high. In yesterday's session also, we had European equities trading in a lot stronger manner, and today the same case is visible in the price dynamics prevalent in the market. FTSE 100 is, I think, having a similar trajectory. Let me see. Yes, apparently it is even trading stronger compared to the DAX. So we will have to follow the lead of the European equity indices and expect the US equity indices to gather steam maybe after the start of the session. But as we have a slightly stronger undertone on the bullish side in the European equity segment, just like the case was in yesterday's session, even in today's session, I feel it will be better for us to go for the long trade in European equity indices rather than going for a long trade in US equity indices, which are struggling so far with the range holding well for all three key equity indices. So we have clear break in the European equity segment, and that gives age for any new trade to be initiated. But here we will have to wait and wait for some correction from the current levels, and maybe after that we can take our chances. But as things stand, as this swing high formation is in place, right now if we go for the trade, that is going to increase the risk, so that is not really advisable. Rather than that, it will be better if we wait it out and allow things to consolidate, and as and when we see the momentum picking up again, we can go for a long trade. So that's my take looking at the current price formation of the DAX, and also prior to this we saw the price formation for the key equity indices for the United States also. So guys and girls, if you have any query or any idea to share, do write to me in the feedback, and I will be more than happy to take the discussion forward. It's time to wrap up the session. I will be back tomorrow for the developments to be covered in the forex as well as in the equity segment. So to come back. Have a fabulous day ahead, a profitable day ahead. See you tomorrow. Thank you all for joining in. Goodbye.